Greetings! Before I go too far, I'm just letting you know you're going to see this exact same shirt 3 videos in a row. Because I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break overall, but I still want to have a video every week on this channel, so I'm doing 3 of them today. So here's the first topic. I've been having problems with how I eat. It sounds weird to put it that way, but let me explain why. For those of you who don't know me all that well, I'm diabetic. I've been a type 2 diabetic since 1997. I didn't get it fully under control until 2014, and by saying fully under control, that's kind of a misnomer. For instance, I did lose weight, so I did that. I got my numbers basically under control in the fact that I stopped having drastic highs that I was having before. Every once in a while I still have like a slight high, but that's not really a big problem. The problem I have are what they call lows. Basically, a low says that you are below the lowest that you should be, and it affects how you feel. It affects what you can do. And for me, what happens is most of the time when I have lows is during the night, and I mean when I'm in bed, because oddly enough, I've only ever had 2, maybe 3 lows when I've actually been awake during the day. And that is a weird feeling also. I mean, I had it before I started getting under control because I didn't really know how to measure anything. But afterwards, that's not a problem I've had all that often. But it does happen. However, it happens mainly at night. And what happens is that it wakes me up, my heart is beating really strong, and there's a couple of tall tales, whatever that term is, that let me know that I'm in distress. One of those, you know what? You're not going to hear this from anybody else, but they know it's true. At least guys, they know it's true. When you have to go to the bathroom and you can't because everything shrinks. It just does. There's nothing to do. I mean, you're stuck. You have to basically sit on the toilet and use the bathroom like a woman. You know, might as well just tell it like it is. That's one of those signs where it's like, wow, I'm in distress. And I feel it also. So I always come check the glucometer, and most of the time I'm down in the 60s. That's bad. For most people, the range is supposed to be between 80 and 120. For me, my range is 100 to 140. So if I'm in the 60s, that's bad. I've had times where it's been below 60. I've been lucky in the fact that I haven't had a 33 since the time way back when, where it really affected me really badly. But I've, been in the 50s here and there. So this is a bad thing. Now here is the problem with trying to eat. It's not that I don't always eat enough food. It's probably the fact that it now seems to take more than just making sure I eat enough food or making sure that I eat the right food at the right time so that I don't have those lows overnight. I take insulin. I have to take insulin twice a day. I'm supposed to take a certain amount early on in the day, around the time I eat, and I'm supposed to take a certain amount at night. I'm supposed to take less at night because I've had these problems with the lows. However, that turns out not to necessarily always work. I take something that's called 70-30 insulin, which basically says that 30% of it is going to be fast acting, which is immediate acting, which means if I eat a lot of carbs early on, well, the 30% is going to attack those carbs. But that 70% is going to kick in later on during the night. So that's a bad thing in a way, because if I've got that 30% hitting early, it takes care of if I've eaten a lot of carbs. But now I've got that 70 and there's nothing else to sustain the body, so it wakes me up. And that's a strange thing, because one of the problems I have is that it's easier for me to figure out carbs to eat than it is to figure out non-carbs. The reason being, carbs at least have a bunch of calories to it, whereas the non-carbs don't have as much. And it sounds weird when you put it that way, but let's face the fact here. One of the things I tried to do, for instance, is I ate a whole bag of chopped spinach. Chopped spinach came to about 2.5 cups of spinach once it was cooked. Well, 2.5 cups of spinach comes to about 70 calories. So even though you've eaten enough spinach, there's nothing to it. I have sauteed it, and I've added onions to it. Onions have no calories whatsoever, so you're still stuck at 70. I have added corn to it. Corn almost has no calories. So now, once again, you're stuck. So you can't just eat vegetables and get over this. I don't eat fruit standalone. Even if I did, fruit are not only low in calories, but they're not protein. Fruit is high in fructose, which means it's high in sugar, which means it's carbohydrate. So that defeats it. So then you think about meat. Say, oh, you know what? I will now eat meat. And the meat of choice, that's an odd term, but let me just say it this way. If it's going to be cooked meat late at night, the meat of choice is going to probably be some kind of chicken because it's easiest to prepare. The thing is, if I don't eat chicken fingers or chicken nuggets, then I also, once again, have no calories because you can eat 8 ounces of chicken and it's only around 200 calories. But if you eat something that's breaded, you can bring that up to 500 or 600 calories. But see, that takes longer to prepare. And late at night, if you have to eat something, it's 9, 10 in the morning, or at night, you don't feel like a long time of cooking. You want something quick. And that's one of the problems that I have. My fallback has always been brand cereal, Kellogg's brand cereal, because it seems to have an equal mix of carb and of protein. So that helps out a lot, and that gets me over. But even as much as I love brand cereal, I don't want to eat that all the time. So then I said, well, what about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? Which sounds really good because peanut butter's got the protein, but the jelly's got carbohydrates. Not that much, but still it's got carbohydrates because it's sweet. But the bread has enough carbs in it. So that's a weird balance. I've tried Ritz crackers and peanut butter. Same thing. Ritz crackers have a whole lot of carbs in it. It offsets the peanut butter a little bit. That is my emergency food, though, if I'm crashing during the night, which is Ritz crackers and peanut butter. That's my emergency thing, because you're supposed to eat something that brings your glucose up, but not too much and not too fast, and that's where the peanut butter holds things down. So it's not necessarily easy to eat. Now, if I eat 3 meals a day, which is rare, that's my fault, but if I eat 3 meals a day, I run into the same problem. Because quite often my breakfast is either going to be brand cereal again, or it's going to be something like eggs and bacon, maybe an eggs and bacon sandwich. Well, let's look at bacon. Bacon, the kind I get, is 20 calories a slice. So if I make 5 slices of bacon, that's only 100 calories. If I have an egg, and I buy the extra large eggs, an extra large egg is only 25 calories. So there's 125 calories. If I eat it with bread, okay, it's 325 calories. Yep, it's got the carb thing in it, but it's only 325 calories. I'm supposed to eat somewhere between 1,800 and 2,000 calories a day to lose weight, to actually feel good. And you would think that would be easy. It's easy if I eat a lot of dessert, but once again, dessert are carbs and it drives it up. And I'm telling you all this because there are some folks in my diabetes group who ask these kinds of questions. You know, how do I get around the calorie thing? How do I find the right foods to eat so that I'm not eating too many carbs or I'm not eating too many, too much in fat or protein and whatever? And it probably takes the idea of being able to plan a menu so that around the proper dinner time, you are actually eating, well, a more balanced meal. Maybe you do that at lunch. Maybe you do that at breakfast. But like I said, unless you're eating pancakes, and I'd love to eat pancakes, but I don't know how to make pancakes. So that's kind of out of the thing. And it can't be a whole bowl of grits because a whole bowl of grits is just a whole bowl of carbs. And even though I love my grits, I can't do that often either. It's on those days where I start to have problems later on during the day if I don't eat lunch. But the reason that you have to look at those balanced meals every once in a while is because you need to have something to offset everything, especially when you're taking insulin. Now, I also take metformin twice a day, and I'm supposed to take all of these things at the exact same time that I eat. It just doesn't work out that way for me. And most of the time, I'm eating dinner between 8 and 9, which is a bad time, but I'm a full-time caregiver for my mother, so I don't eat dinner unless we're eating the same thing, unless I've gone out early and got us some fried fish or something like that, where I can cut it up and I'm giving her some and I'm eating some at the same time. Unless I do that, I don't eat until Mom is in bed, and I know that she's good in bed. We always have excuses for different things. But, you know, I'm putting this out there, like I said, for those people, but also for the people who just say, well, just eat less food. You know what? It doesn't work. If you're a type 2 diabetic, you can't just eat less food and think that everything is going to go well. You have to eat enough food that fits it fits your exercise. For instance, I walk at least 5 miles a day. One day, 2 weeks ago, I walked 15 miles. So I had to basically eat at least 3,000 calories worth of food to balance that off. You know what? I didn't eat 3,000 calories worth of food. I ate around 2,000. I woke up during the night with a low. And it's miserable. Because when you wake up with a low, it could take up to 3 hours to possibly get back to sleep. Because the heart's beating really hard, and that's just miserable. And you're exhausted, but there's nothing you can do. Your heart's just pounding too hard. So don't tell people, if you have no clue, to eat less food in that kind of regard. Unless it's balanced. If I was one of those people who ate 5 meals a day, and each one was a small thing, maybe eating less food works. But in general, it doesn't work at all. Diabetes don't play. It just doesn't. Whether you're a type 1 or a type 2, it just doesn't play. One thing I always said is that I was not going to let diabetes tell me what I could eat, but it is telling me how I probably need to eat so that I don't have the lows. I hate to admit this. Sometimes I'd rather the highs than the lows, because at least the highs don't keep me up at night, don't wake me up at night, but it's the highs that do the most damage to your body. Folks, you don't want to be diabetic. You don't want to deal with any of this. Trust me on that. Anyway, that's this week's video. Let me know your thoughts. Are you diabetic? What do you do to kind of maintain your glucose rating or blood sugar? A term I hate, but you know what? I don't get control over everything. Let me know. My name's Mitch Mitchell. Hope to see y'all later.